Yeah,
and I think we are as live as it gets. So we got the master, Steve Trang,
here with us today. The sales legend.
Not the god, just the guy. Man. Just the guy with the golden mic.
Exactly. The guy with the setup.
Yep.
So we'll let some people join in here. Is it showing on your side, Chandler? On live?
It says the video is now live. It shows me.
Okay, perfect.
We are live.
Yo. So, please, no one look at Steve's whiteboard. Please, not at all.
Yeah, don't look at the escrows we have.
Just look at that pretty smile. Man.
Yeah.
That pretty smile they call Mr. Steve Trang. So, Steve, so what we make sure everyone on this podcast or this show, we make sure they show their calves before. So for you guys watching, he's got some large calves, and let's just say he runs pretty hard, but against all odds, according to me, I beat him in a race. According to some other people he talks about, apparently he gave me a head start. So we'll
camera don't lie.
The camera quality is pretty solid. I think it's.
Well, there's
a little bit on both sides for sure.
There's a little delay.
Yeah, a little delay in the start, but
so let's start out. Let's just get to it. Steve, so tell us. I mean, a lot of people here obviously know who you are, but with that being said, too, why don't you share a little bit regarding how you started in real estate? I know we're kind of changing turns over here, and you're usually asking people that, but tell us a little bit how you started.
Yeah, so I think, like a lot of people, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? You read this book and you say, oh, there's another way to have a life without having a W-2 income, right? And you learn that there's the rich dad and there's the poor dad. And so once I read about it, my friends and I started buying rental properties. And in the process of buying rental properties, me as an engineer, we met a broker who was selling real estate. And I was talking to him. I was like, wait a minute. So what do you do exactly? He's like, I just sell houses. Like, okay. How much do you make? It's like, because, you see the commissions, right? How much do you make? It's like, I make 6 figures. It's like, all right. So I'm working over here as an engineer making $70,000 a year. And your life seems to be pretty simple. And you make 6 figures. I didn't say those words. But that's what's going through my mind. And I'm thinking, all right, well, what would it take for me to learn from you? He's like, go get your real estate license. I'll teach you everything I know. I go get my real estate license in 2.5 weeks. May of 2007, submitted my 2 weeks notice to Intel and go all in, right? I mean, I'm kind of I make decisions pretty fast. It usually works out. Sometimes it doesn't, but it usually works out in the long run. And along that time, right, in that 2.5 weeks while I was getting my license, I actually got a promotion and a raise. So when I had to go submit my notice, I was like, I'm making $85K, got benefits, I'm working 20 hours a week, but I have to do this. I have to bet on myself.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, and I've said this before, it's kind of lost a little bit of the focus because Rich Dad Poor Dad didn't say, go become a realtor. Rich Dad Poor Dad said, go buy some properties and get passive cash flow. So shiny object syndrome, got distracted. So I went to go buy rental properties, ended up becoming a realtor, threw away, 5-6 years of my life doing short sales, listing properties for foreclosure. I share with you, I had to evict people, kick one family out for Christmas. So this whole thing, and then I started buying houses. And once I started buying houses, like, oh, wow, you could just buy properties and flip them, and it's a lot easier. And so we started buying more houses until we ran out of money. And then that's when I met Jamil and started wholesaling. Jamil was a Zillow lead. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know he was a Zillow lead.
Yeah, Jamil called me from Zillow on one of my hotels, and we didn't call the hotels back then. Back then, it was just a crappy fix and flip, right? Like you bought it, listed it. And Jamil called me, and I still remember that property because I bought it for around 90, and I thought I could sell it for like 110, 115. I didn't notice because again, I make decisions really fast. I bought that property without any inspection, whatever. It's like, oh, this property is good, and I listed it, for 115. And the agents are calling me. It's like, hey, what are you gonna do about the AC unit? So what do you mean? It's like, this house doesn't have an air conditioner, and it's not like the AC was stolen. Like this house did not have an air conditioner.
Oh,
in Phoenix.
In Phoenix.
Oh God,
of all places.
Terrible.
Right. So it's a single family home without an AC. So Jamil was a Zillow lead. I sold it to him for 107, and then he double closed it and sold it for like 125, 130. And I was like, wait a minute, I couldn't sell it on the MLS for 115, and this guy's selling for over MLS. Like, what the hell is this about? I said, hey, why don't you? Like, I took him out to lunch, Clever Koi, in downtown Phoenix. And I started asking him, like, what do you do? Explain to me what you do in the wholesaling world. And he educated me on the JV world. And that's kind of the direction. That's when I started wholesaling more.
It opened your eyes.
Yeah. And it's not that I didn't know about wholesaling, because my cousin Wayne, my partner in OfferFast, was also wholesaling. He told me about wholesaling back in 2007. But here's the really smart words, right, from Steve right here. Wholesaling is a fad. 2007.
So you were thinking in 2007.
2007. Man, how much further would I be if I started in 2007? But,
so when was you and Jamil's meetup? Like, what year-wise was that?
I want to say we probably hooked up around 13 or 14, around there.
So you know Jamil for 7 years almost.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, like, he was my first mentor, right?
Yeah.
In wholesaling. He mentored me in wholesaling. I mean, for exchange value, right? I sent him all my deals.
Exactly.
He showed me how to wholesale, and I sent him all my deals.
Yeah, that's, I think, a big tip right there, because if you want to learn from some of the best, you got to provide some value. And I think you gave them some value in giving you the deals, right?
Right. And I was excited back then about like a 3K, 5K assignment fee. Man, how much money I left on the table.
Oh,
anyway.
Gosh. At least you learned an experience, right? Education.
I did learn an experience.
He made a nice little fee on top of your first deal. That's crazy.
So
yes,
that's 13, 14. So now, like, fast forward. I mean, so let's say what was happening 15, 16, 17.
So I had my brokerage, and we're still up and running, right? So even though I was buying houses and wholesaling, it was a side hustle. It was not a primary focus, right? I was trying to get listings. And then around 2016, I met this guy, Max Jimenez.
I hear him in the background right now. Yeah. Tell that Maverick to keep it down. Maverick, tell him to come over. Big Max.
So anyway, I hired this guy, Max Jimenez, off of Craigslist, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow, bro, we're working over here.
You found him at Tinder. You found him at Tinder. That's where you found him.
Anyway, so he was a Zillow, Craigslist. He called me up in a Craigslist ad. I was looking to hire inside salespeople, and my process back then is you had to leave a voicemail, and he left this cocky voicemail, right? Like, look, hire me. You don't need to interview anybody else. I was like, all right, let's bring this guy in, do the interview thing. I interviewed him, hired him, and he worked with me for like 6 to 8 weeks, because at that time he was trying to wholesale, but he couldn't wholesale yet. So he was still working. He was mailing bandit signs, whatever, with his family. And after about 6 to 8 weeks, he's like, hey, we need to talk. I was like, you know that tone, right?
Yeah.
We need to talk. I was like, all right, I see where this is going. He's like, hey, I'm quitting. It's like, what? He's like, yeah, I closed my first wholesale deal. I was like, okay. And I was wholesaling, right? So it was like one of the attraction for reason why he worked with me is because I was already wholesaling and I could tell him more about wholesaling. So he closes the deal. I was like, okay, fine. I wish you best of luck. I am not one to burn bridges. Like, hey, if it doesn't work out now, maybe down the road we'll work together in some capacity or another, maybe send me deals, whatever. But when I hired him initially, because he was already trying to wholesale, I kind of looked at him as the future of my investment arm. And so we parted ways. We kept in touch, and he'll post things on Facebook. I'll comment, blah blah blah, and then he posted something about title companies paying for things, and I called him. I was like, dude, take that off. Like, you can't talk about that.
That's funny.
But as we were talking about it, I could tell that he was kind of frustrated with his existing partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was talking to him, and at that time, he had a partnership where he was getting 40%, the other guy was getting 60%. I was like, well, tell me about this. And I was like, well, the other guy, he funds the deals. I said, okay, cool. What do you do? It's like, well, I do the marketing. I source the deals. I talk to the sellers, talk to the buyers. I wholesale it. If we flip it, I deal with the contractors. I was like, for 40%? It's like, yeah. I said, okay. And he says, but, my partner's unhappy. He wants to bring in a third guy. So instead of 60-40, it's going to be 50, 25, 25. So you're going to go from 40 to 25. He's like, yeah, got it. Okay. I'll do 40.
Yeah, exactly. Let him speak first.
So we partnered up at a 60-40, and this is in 2018, right? 2 years after he quit. A little less than 2 years after he quit. And in my mind, I was like, dude, Max is literally doing all the work. So I was like, let's make you a 50-50 partner.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I can't keep you at 40. You're literally doing everything.
So I think I like that.
when you
Go ahead, Chandler.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, you said right when you met Max, you kind of thought he was the future of your investment arm. Like, what about that? Like, it gave you that first impression, you know?
Well, so at the time, I was already wholesaling, right, and flipping whatever. But it was, like I said, it was a side hustle, and I knew that was the most profitable piece, but I couldn't put all my resources there because I already had other people that depended on me on the brokerage, on my team, and so on. So I couldn't just dump everything and then go hard on the investment arm. So for me, I wanted someone that I could trust, someone that I think would be a worthy person to run that arm. And I thought Max was the guy, but he left. So obviously he was not the guy. But we kept in touch.
Not that moment.
And then we brought him in. Now he is the guy, right? But there's there's something that Dan Sullivan talks about. It's not a how problem, it's not a what problem, it's a who problem. And so for me, as a business owner, I can open as many businesses as I need to, so long as I have the right people in place. And so I wasn't actively looking to build out the investment arm, but if I had the right person, I would run with it. And it's kind of like one of our rocks is to start Mom's House. But I'm not just going to start Mom's House and then hire for it. If we have the right person, okay, this person is going to run Mom's House, right? But it's not, we're going to start it and then find the person. So the first things first is we want to find the right people. Once we have the right people, then we can build a system around that person and let that run.
Yeah, that's exactly what Gary was saying on your podcast last week.
Exactly.
Once you find that person, I can start whatever business I want. So that's awesome. What were you going to say earlier, Gino?
No, I was going to say that. I was going to say Gary, the integrator, right? Finding your integrator first. And once you find the integrator, then go into that business.
Right. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Max is the best integrator. Right?
Yeah, I know, Maverick.
Yeah, but he was motivated enough to force himself to do things that he doesn't like, that's not comfortable with, right? So he was building out the Podio. He was dealing with Don Ross with Beast Mode. He was dealing with, who was it? Some other people for Roar. He was dealing, with Text Magic. Like, he's the one that went and found Text Magic and just implemented himself. So like he's capable of doing those things, but he's not in love. He's not in his comfort zone.
Yeah,
but he's got the grit and hustle.
Yeah, no, it makes sense for sure. So that was 2018. And now you started other ventures there during that time, right? What else did you start doing?
Well, after that, so I partnered up with Max in April. In May, we launched a podcast. And then a year after that, we started doing the education side. And, the education thing is big. It'd be cool if that happens, but it wasn't like a major push. Yeah. But there were a lot of people that were wanting to learn how we're doing it. And, full transparency, when we launched the podcast, we were not great at wholesaling. We weren't. And the podcast was a great way for me to learn from other guys crushing it. So a lot of my questions were like, hey, here's a problem I'm having in my business. How would you fix it? Awesome. Hey, Max, let's go do these things, right? But as we built our business and as we're having more success, people were like, look, what are you doing? Yeah, we don't like, maybe Steve is not as successful as some of these other guys, but we'd rather work with Steve than some of these other guys.
The credibility that the podcast brings.
You have all those connections as well. So you have access to so much knowledge.
Yeah, there's Gino was laughing yesterday. He posted in our private group, right? So I did not see it has as much power.
I was hyping him up.
Yeah. I actually called her right after our call. I actually called her.
Yeah, no, see? Like, that's what matters about it is you guys and that might be people listening, if you start a podcast or you start, one of these types of calls, you're not only getting knowledge too, right? You're getting free knowledge, and you're helping that person get exposure. All our 18 people that have never seen Steve before on here, but then you also, you're also getting the relationship with the person as well, right?
Yeah. For the older crowd, we get a Rolodex.
Rolodex. I don't even know what that means, but
No, what can you explain that definition?
A Rolodex is what we used to call the contact list that you have in your phone. That contact app in your phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you just roll it.
Oh, I got you. I like that. Yeah. So you're at Disruptors now, right? So you're at Disruptors. You started that podcast. Go on a little bit about Disruptor Solutions, about the education. Now, how have you grown over the last, I guess, since I joined in 2020, when we took the step into joining your program, even beginning January 2020, from now, year and a half ago, I guess exactly almost, that you've blossomed like a cherry.
Yeah, so we've been really, fortunate because we're proud of everything we do, right? One of our used to be one of our core values. I guess it's not a core values anymore. But one of our core values at the time was excellence. And I am passionate about everything we do. We want to be high quality. And when we want to serve with maximum impact. It's not just like, hey, let's do this. It's not like, hey, let's collect our money and whatever. Like for me, I genuinely care about the success of each and every person that is in our mentorship. And so I think, with that, it's carried on. It's apparent. And then there was a time around this time last year, a little bit right when COVID kind of occurred, there was an opening at Collective Genius for sales. And I was already connected with Gary Harper, even though we weren't working together. We had spoken on the phone and so on. And when they reached out and said, hey, there's an opening for sales trainer. Do you know anybody, Gary? And he's like, oh, yeah, Steve's your guy. And so for me, I don't just take situations for granted. So I talked to the director at Collective Genius and said, look, what do you guys need? What do your members need? And he said, great question. Here's what I've heard. But how about this? How about I give you 5 people to talk to and you figure out what they need? So I did, right? I surveyed 5 of them. It's like, all right, here's what they need. And then we created a program all around that. And that's been what's helped us propel, right? We got about 50 clients at Collective Genius. And it's all based off of asking what the client wants and then giving it to them at a high level, at high quality.
So Steve, I know some people in here, they might not know what Collective Genius is. Can you explain a little bit what Collective Genius is? And then that way.
Yeah. So Collective Genius is one of the top masterminds. It's been around the longest and it's got some really high caliber people in there. The people that I get to call friends are kicking our asses, right? I mean, there are guys doing 100+ deals per month. There's Eric Brewer, right? I mean, he's doing between traditional, between retail and investor side, 800 transactions a year. That's a good person to be able to call. As a matter of fact, I personally had an issue, a crisis of leadership a couple of weeks ago. And I happened to be on the phone with him. I was like, how would you handle this? And he gave me great advice, right? So you get to surround yourself with counsel, people that you look up to, but there are peers. Whereas, I actually had someone ask me recently, like, who's your coach? Like, right now I don't have a specific coach, but for every problem I have, there is at least one person I can call that has experienced that, right?
Exactly.
Whether it's leadership, management, sales, creative, JV, whatever problem I have, there's always somebody I can call.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think
that's huge. That's important. And like to bring it back, like you said, you met with these guys who are doing hundreds and hundreds of deals a year. If they're having sales issues, I mean, that means most everyone's having the same issues. You want to touch on some of those issues for us? Yeah,
there's something. It's the law of it's not proximity. It's the law of what the heck is it?
Attraction.
But basically, no. Basically, what it is something happens when you're too close to somebody, right? Mm-hmm. And so the law of familiarity, that's what it is. Yeah. So basically what happens is if you've got someone in your organization, I'm just going to use here, Gino and Jared, right? Jared's your acquisition guy, right? And I'm not saying that's the case today, but potentially in a year, 2 years, 3 years, there will come a point where you'll tell Jared something, he'll be like, yeah, whatever, right? And it's not disrespectful. It's just he knows you so well that he doesn't value your opinion. And so for me, one of the things I get to offer to the other business owners, because all the business owners can close. They wouldn't get to this level if they couldn't close. But at some point, your people tune you out as a business leader. And so what happens is I come in and I can give advice in a slightly different perspective where it'll be absorbed because I am the sales professional, right? I'm the sales trainer. And I'll give you a perfect example. I think you guys saw this, and I posted this on CG Selects, right? Someone in my organization sent me a text like, I can't believe that you hired another sales trainer to come into your brokerage to teach your realtors. I was like, I have to, because they've tuned me out. Like, it sucks. And I'll say to them, like, guys, literally people are paying me a crap load of money every single month to train their salespeople. And you guys can't show up at a freaking office meeting. But
they don't know what they don't know what they have,
They don't know what they're missing out on over here.
They've gotten used to it, right? And that's what happens. So, but yeah, so that's part one. That's part of it. The other thing too is the thing I'm also really blessed with in training all the top sales teams in the country is there's things that I'm learning from them as well, because they are pushing me to be the best version of me. Like if I'm not getting better, then I can't help them. So on all these calls, not only am I teaching them, but I'm also learning from them on a lot of the calls as well. And that helps me improve my sales training, which you guys get to see on Wednesdays, right? Our sales training is getting a little bit better because you've seen it, Gino, like the evolution from when you started with me to sales training now.
Yeah, no one would question you either. You just listen and then just stay there. And now we're starting to do those role plays and stuff like that, you know?
Yep.
More hands-on training for sure.
Exactly.
So Chandler, do you have any other questions?
As far as that, I mean, pretty much, you know, what is your vision for Disruptors besides, I know you got the sales training and you got all that kind of stuff, you know, what else do you have back up there cooking for everyone?
Well, I mean, I put it out there on Bigger Pockets as I'm coming for Grant, right? Grant Cardone. I want to be not the #1 sales trainer in real estate. I want to be the #1 sales trainer, period. And so,
let's go.
Yeah. So everything I'm doing, you see, like you guys will see tomorrow on our next live tomorrow, because our new guys have started yesterday, and what they've shown me in just 24 hours is like, man, it's blowing me away. I'm so glad I brought them in. I overpaid for them.
Oh, for the five people, the camera crew.
Yeah, I overpaid for them, but they're really good. So you guys will see tomorrow. You have to pay for talent. And
are we going to see tomorrow on the live YouTube?
You're going to see it. If you can't tell me it's different.
You know what? Actually, I just remembered tomorrow would have been my day to come if I didn't fill in that spot. So I could have had my first dibs on the 5 people.
Damn.
It's the next time. Next time.
When Chandler goes. Next time. Yep. Who knows?
So Steve, I had a question a little bit now. So we went through what your businesses look like, but how many and how are you handling it? I know we kind of touched on it a little bit. We got Disruptors, which is education and, you know, a lot of the branding. You got Max Cash Offers is wholesale. Stunning Homes Realty, which is your brokerage.
Yep.
What else am I missing?
So we got the title company.
Title company, that's right.
We got the app, OfferFast, which is actually up in Georgia. Doesn't seem to be used a lot, but it is up and running in Georgia.
Is it?
It is. And then we have a JV and a mortgage business. Let's see what else there is. And then I'm doing something with Jason Lewis in the next month and a half.
You probably don't want to talk about that.
Not yet. And then Panita and I are texting about maybe doing some other collaboration stuff. So
I like that. Like you and Panita,
awesome.
and what Kong too, right? Tell us about that. You guys got a little banter.
You know, I'm really lucky that I get to call these guys friends. You know, and in doing that, I get to see what they're up to, what their thought processes are. And Ryan's kind of quiet. So really it's normally Kong starting it and then Ryan replying, right? Because Kong can talk, right? And Ryan's just kind of reserved. And so a lot of it is, you know, Kong's like, hey, Ryan, what do you think about this? And then you'll learn all this stuff that Ryan's been learning along the way. But what's really cool is that Ryan's an open book. And he even shared with me his org chart for his media empire. Right. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I was like, hey, can I look at that? He's like, here, I'll just text it to you. So he did. And so I took that and gave it to my media team. I was like, guys, this is what we need to do.
And that's kind of what we're doing too, Steve, with yours. We took your org chart and we're putting that last night all into place too.
Exactly. Yep. And what's really cool in having someone that you look up to, someone that, you know, Ryan went from not zero, but basically a idle position to flying right past me on social media. But now I got someone to say, okay, that's someone I'm gunning for, you know? And I've told him openly, I'm coming for you, right? And I think for him, he's like, yeah, whatever. But I think he does kind of keep his eye in a rearview mirror every once in a while.
Tomorrow, he'll see it.
He'll know what's going on tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you got
Kong. Steve, you get to hang out with all these amazing guys like Ryan Pineda, Kong, and all the people in CG.
You know, hung out with Kong.
Yeah, I've hung out with him a couple times.
He held him in his arms, actually.
Yeah, we had a kissing picture of me and him, Steve.
I'm surprised we haven't seen the hot tub videos yet, but
So we talked about.
But yeah,
The,
I mean, I think being intentional with relationships, and I think Gino is a persuader, right? And
That's
then
right.
Chandler, you are a venturer,
That's correct.
right? So I'm an individualist, and the individualist is kind of selfish in some ways. But I actually talked to Austin McCurdy about this because I have a high A, which means I'm very independent, which is like leave me alone, or not leave me alone, but I'll solve problems on my own. But I also have the B, which is really reserved, which is like I don't want to talk to anybody, right? I have no need for social approval. I don't want to talk to anybody. I am totally content during COVID to be at home doing absolutely nothing, right? So I was asking, like, Austin, like, how does this make sense? I don't need social interaction, but I'm connected to everyone that, I go and talk to people. He's like, it's easy, right? Your desire to win outweighs your desire for comfort. And so you will make yourself uncomfortable to win. And you see relationships with other people as a method of winning. And so you'll go and talk to them. So I am intentional with relationships that might sound self-centered or shallow, but
it works.
It works.
So yeah, because like I have the high A as well on my PI, and like sometimes like probably one of my struggles is just actually reaching out to other people for help. Like Gino all the time tells me, just text them, text Stephanie for help or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I got this. I haven't figured it out. So like, was that natural for you to overcome that, or was it,
Yeah, I've always been very quick to ask for help. They always do those skits growing up. This might be before your time. While you're watching TV, like the guy's always lost, and like the wife will go ask for help. He's like, no, I got this, right? That's kind of like the whole dynamic in all these sitcoms, whatever. But I've always been the guy, like the moment I'm lost, I will raise my hand. I'm the kid in school who would always ask questions. If I didn't know, I would always ask. I would always raise my hand. It's like, I don't understand this. So I was always that kid that was not afraid to ask questions. I didn't care if people thought I looked stupid. It didn't matter to me, right?
I can see Steve in the classroom. Everyone's, shut up, Steve.
All day. I don't care if class is about to end. If I don't know the answer to this, I need to know now, right? So, and it's not like I was this big time nerd. I was a nerd, but it's just I am not above asking for help.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a golden nugget right there, because some people and a lot of people are afraid to ask for help. And I think that's what will limit you, because not only are you, like for me, like it was like asking Ren to stop on a Zoom with us. It's like, it's a little uncomfortable. Hey, we have a relationship. We have a mutual thing. Let's just do it. Right. And then we'll figure out then what happens. Right.
Yep.
So, and we'll build that relationship, and worst he can say is no. And then, move on from there.
So I'll give you something else unrelated, somewhat related. Right. So look, I'm not the hottest guy. Right. I'm not. I wish I were. I'm not.
You're close.
And so my friends, because we would go clubbing, whatever, and they always were like in awe. Like I would just walk up to the hottest girl. Like I wouldn't like talk to like a couple of girls. Like I would just go straight to the hottest girl and start talking to her. And they were always like dumbfounded, right? Like, they got the private section, right, with like the balance or whatever. Like I would walk right past that guy. Like it's just
oh man.
But I know what I want and I'm gonna go after it.
And did you succeed?
I don't want to answer that question.
Off the record, not recorded. No, but I think that's important too. Yeah, like just don't worry. But so everyone listening, if you're going into the club, saying the younger audience, walk past the bouncer for Steve in honor.
Walk past the bouncer. What's the worst that can happen? All he can do is say no.
He's just gonna tell you to turn around. He's just gonna tell you to turn around.
And it's not like he's gonna attack you, right? He's just gonna say, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna talk to this girl. Exactly. I need to use that, even though I got a girlfriend. Hopefully. Off the record.
Maybe that's more for me, off the record.
Yeah, Chandler, I'll let you do it. So Claudio has a question for you, Steve.
Yep.
So, have you considered a cold call training program?
We have not. That's a great question, Claudio. We have not. And the only reason why is because we've had virtual assistants and we've trained them on cold calling. And my opinion, for the most part, on cold callers, is they have a hard time handling the tonality and the intonations that's acquired for our cold calling process. And so for us, we predominantly look at cold callers as just another marketing method. So we've given up on them trying to figure out how to disqualify leads. we're basically treating them now like direct mail or PPC or TV, right? Like you get crappy TV leads, you get good TV leads. You get crappy PPC leads, you get good PPC leads. So for us, the telemarketing, the virtual assistants, at this point, we've given up on trying to make them good at filtering and whatever and qualifying, disqualifying. Just get people to raise their hands, and then we'll do the hard work. Just like direct mail is to get people to raise their hands. PPC, TV is to get people to raise their hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I like that. So also Micah has one here for you. Is Disruptors built for sales training or business training?
That's a great question, Micah. What were you hoping I was going to say? I'm just kidding. So Monday is business and Wednesdays is sales. So we do it as 2 calls. Mondays is business, Wednesdays is sales. And the reason why is because those are the 2 things I geek out on. I also geek out on marketing, but marketing is not that complicated in this business. So marketing is really important in a lot of things, but in this business it's not as important as you would think. So business is all about entrepreneurship, leadership, how to hire, how to fire, KPIs, P&Ls, and so on. And then Wednesdays, it's just strictly sales. And we go into all the nuances and fundamentals, as well as how to handle, certain objections, because there's theories and there's ideas, but we've tested it. They're time tested. We've done things where we've got thrown out of houses, and we've done things where it gets what we need, the result that we want. And so when we go over on Wednesdays, that's what we go over. Battle tested ideas, not theory.
So I kind of want to add on to that last question about the cold call training. We get this question a lot: is what's the difference between a cold caller and a lead manager? Like, what would you say to if someone asked you that? What am I doing different with a cold caller versus a lead manager?
A cold caller is no one's ever talked to this person. For us, a lead manager is someone that this person's raised their hand in one capacity or another. It might be super cold, right? It might be a texting person make me an offer. That's still a pretty cold call, but a call that lead manager can make. But a cold caller, literally, like this person was not expecting your call whatsoever. A lead manager, you're calling anywhere from a slightly less cold, warm to a hot lead.
Perfect.
Makes perfect sense.
Micah was also asking, and Sean shout us out with our VA business, and John was asking what personality test is that from? Yeah, that's predictive index, John.
Yep, predictive index.
Which Micah actually answered.
In the high A, as we kind of talked about earlier, just means you're very independent if you have a high A. And if you have a lower A, it means you're more collaborative. So. Yeah,
so the way you look at it, because we're talking about A, B, C, and D, you can pretty much, not exactly, but pretty much substitute that with DISC, right? So for DISC is DISC, for predictive index is A, B, C, D. Pretty much are in line.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys got questions, feel free to leave them down below. We had one Facebook user say this for you, Steve.
Act as if, baby. Act as if. Right? And that's the same thing. We do it. We use this analogy for someone that's like, well, how do you tell a seller this, right? And what we tell them is, tell them as if it's normal. Because in sales, things are only as big of a problem as you make it, right? If it's a non-issue and you treat it as a non-issue, sellers say, oh, okay, this is the way it is. And so what we use to coach that is that act as if comment. Is I try to tell everyone, pretend the last time you went to the gym that you didn't belong to, and you just walked right past the counter. Or when you stuck into a movie, right? You just kind of walked right past. Act as if.
Exactly. I like that. Act as if, walk in.
That's hilarious. And you were just actually on the Wolf of Wall Street too, the podcast. What was that, a month ago? How was that?
Month and a half ago. It was incredible. When we did it, they actually asked me beforehand, like, how do you want this interview to go? I was like, man, if you could just try to abuse me like Grant Cardone, if you could just run it exactly like that, and then I'll be able to defend myself, then it'll look good. So that's what he did. And he came hard. And I think I was able to hold my own. So that was important to me, was to have him give me credibility by not taking it easy on me. Because again, like when Grant Cardone was on it, it was a disaster because he wasn't going hard at Grant. He was just pushing him a little bit.
Yeah.
And
that was just bringing up the flaws, I thought.
wanted to go.
You had an answer and Grant didn't really in our
right. Exactly.
Yeah, Grant, Steve's on the way up, Grant's on the way out.
Yeah, I mean he's comfortable, right? He's comfortable. There's nothing wrong with that. I hope when I'm 60, 70, or 80, however old he is,
that you're that comfortable. But you got a shout out from Sean. So
thank you, Sean.
So another thing too is, and he just said too, you went negative on the front desk lady. I love doing that. You got in for free, man. It works, man. In real life.
It works.
Yeah, man, I don't know if you can help.
Yeah, you probably couldn't let me in. I use it all the time. But another thing too. So Steve, what should be? I mean, you're the sales master. What should be some questions or some things that the audience might be able to use right away that help them in their business? Or what's a couple tips that you recommend?
I think a couple things at a high level is act as if, right, that you don't need the business. And one way I've heard this before is like, I'm a millionaire. It's just my bank account doesn't show it yet. Right?
Yeah.
So act like you don't need the business, and you're more likely to get it. Because if you act like you need it, everyone can smell commission breath. The other thing is this from a friend, Billy Ross, is it's the platinum rule, right? Like the golden rule we learned growing up was to treat others how you would want to be treated, which makes sense, right? But then as we learn about bonding and rapport and disc profiles and this and that, now we learn treat people how they want to be treated, right? So I'm going to treat Gino how Gino wants to be treated. I'm going to treat Chandler how Chandler wants to be treated. I can't treat Gino how I would want to be treated because we're different people, right? Gino is more relationship based. I am more let's get it done based, right? Like I don't care how your morning went, Gino. Like I want answers right now. Where Gino's like, hey, tell me about how was your morning? Did you have a good workout this morning? And so if I approach Gino how I would want to be approached, I might offend him. But if I start with a small talk, ask Gino how he's doing, how's his day is, how his day's been going, I'm more likely to win. So treat others how they would want to be treated. And I think labeling and mirroring are two of the most important tools in building rapport. And so I think just being intentional to mirror will get you so far. It'll help you shortcut a lot of the things that we teach. And then labeling,
showing empathy. Yeah.
And then labeling, I try to explain it psychologically is the adult version of applying a Band-Aid to your kid. Your kid falls down and he's Band-Aid even though there's no blood, right? And you can tell I'm not bitter about this. But we waste a lot of money on Band-Aids in our house. And the adult version is labeling. You sound like you're really frustrated. Sounds like you're upset about this. Seems like you've been getting a lot of calls about this. And these labels helps you build rapport. So I think those are a few things just to really give you a quick edge, quick step up.
Yeah, I think the big thing there was the commission breath, because I never even heard of that before, but it's true. If they start hearing you, the sellers on the phones, that you're trying to get them to sell you their property, they will definitely start turning away and get turned off. So, another way to balance that, is just going negative or going opposite. Like, hey, we're probably not your best fit, right? And if they come back to you, guess what? It's a win-win. I was telling this little tangent to Jared and his girls. Like, we're telling one of our buddies, hyping them up, Chandler Perkins, another Chandler. Like, what is the worst she says? Like, you probably don't want to come, over to my house. The worst she says, no. And you're saying, oh, yeah, I knew you didn't want to. You didn't want to come over to my house, right? And the best thing she says, well, yeah, why not? And it's worked every time for Jared and his females. So shout out to Jared on here. But
learning every day.
Exactly. So we got another question here for you, Steve. In your opinion, what's the most important aspect of running a successful business?
Leadership. So I think as a business owner, leadership is the single most important skill. You guys heard me present this last month. All right. So leadership, I think, is the single most important skill as a business owner. Right. So I think sales is the most important business to drum up business, to bring in revenue. But leadership is what draws talent, is what draws people to work with you. Because people will work with you if they see you as a vehicle for their success, right? If they don't see you as a vehicle for their success, they're going to walk right past you, right? Like, why would I work for somebody who I'm better than, right? Yeah, think about it. If there's any point in your career, it's like, my boss is an idiot. Why am I working for this guy?
Exactly.
You're going on Indeed. You're going on, I don't know, Wise Hire or whatever. You're looking for another job. So in order for you to be a successful business owner, you need to be an incredible leader. You need to care about the people. You need to lead them effectively. And you need to provide a vision big enough where they can hit all their goals, right? Like if I was saying, you know what, I just want to make $100,000 a year, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if my goal is to make $100,000 a year, I am not going to attract a lot of top talent, because where do they fit in into this business?
Exactly.
where I'm making 100,000 a year.
Yeah.
So my goal personally is I'm trying to make $1 million a month, right? Like that's my goal. But if I'm making $1 million a month, believe me, there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of leaders to fill their vision, to grow, hit all their goals within my vision.
What else would you say goes into like a good leadership? Like what makes a good leader besides just like having a big vision and stuff?
What makes a good leader goes back to what I was saying earlier was empathy, right? Like you actually have to care about your people. And there are a lot of people that treat like their people like, interchangeable. The gears and cogs, like I just replaced this guy with the next guy. And I'm not saying that business doesn't work, but that's a stressful business. And that's, I'm not trying to get political here, right? But you kind of saw this with the last White House. I mean, every person that left Trump went on to stab him in the back later on, right?
Yeah.
That's a toxic leadership versus if you had, people support your vision. They want to work with you. They support you and you support them, right? You actually have to care about them. The 3 questions to talk about from John Maxwell is, do you care about me? Can you help me? And can I trust you to do what's best for me when no one's looking? And if you can't answer those 3 questions positively, if your person working underneath you can't answer those 3 questions positively, you may not be the leader that they're looking for.
Yeah, I like that right there.
That's really good.
For sure. And another thing you told me, Steve, about, I guess it goes into leadership and managing people on one of our last calls, was this thing I've been using too, is when you're looking at some employees, I guess it's not much leadership, but more managing people just came to my head, is just you got to ask yourself, and I asked you this question, but you got to look at 2 things. Hey, if you hired this person, if I already hired this person, or if I were to hire this person again, would I do it? Right. When you're looking at your past hires. And then the other one was, if what I knew now, would I hire this person?
If they left today, would I be disappointed?
You got me stage fright up here.
Yeah. Knowing what I know now, would I hire this person again? If this person left today, would I be disappointed? And if you can't answer those questions the right way, it's time to fire them. And it sucks, right?
Exactly.
But, the challenge a lot of other business owners have, and I struggle with this, is that you care so much about all the people within your organization, but you can't care so much. You can care too much where you're holding on to someone that's holding your whole organization back, right? Like keeping this person around is actually holding everyone else back from their great superpowers, but B, also demonstrates or shows them, hey, by the way, you guys don't have to work that hard, right? Because we got that guy that doesn't work that hard and he's sticking around.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So it can be cancerous. Even if the guy means well, even if the guy is nice, he's likable. At the end of the day, if he's not the person to propel the company forward, you are now picking that individual over the success of the company and the success of everyone else in the organization.
Yeah, and people see
it sucks. It sucks.
And it spreads.
But that's why we get paid.
Spreads throughout the company. Negativity spreads way faster than positivity.
Yep.
So.
All right, so Mike has another question too for you, Steve. A good one.
Biggest or most interesting failure. This is, I can't say this is the one that comes to mind initially. Is I had made a decision as a realtor because of my friend to put all my salespeople on payroll, right? Salary plus profit share. So everyone got a 3,000 base, and then the profit of the whole company, they all got 5% of the profits, right? So everyone got 3,000, and then 5% of the profits. And that was a big mistake. So that cost me about $180,000. Well, it didn't cost me $180,000, but I racked up $180,000 in debt trying to make this work. So I would say that, and I knew that this was not the best idea, but I was trying to model success, and that's what he was having success with. So he was having a lot of luck with it. So I tried it, and all my biggest fears came true. People worked as hard as they needed to. No one went the extra mile. High accountability. It was just wasn't the right fit for my organization. Steve. It's filled with massive regret every time. So Summer, she's been with me the longest. Every once in a while, we're just like, man, can you believe how far we've come from where we are today versus like that mess?
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Never even heard that before. That's interesting.
I didn't either. I didn't know that either.
So we got another one here. Outside of a solid sales process, what do you think are the top things that hold people back from running successful?
The number one thing, so I don't think even sales is the most important thing, even though, selfishly, I think it's important. I think the single most important thing is mindset. And I used to hate, right? Like you go to, I went to Sean Terry's event, right? Extreme Freedom, which was an incredible event. But like the whole first day, they're talking about mindset. I was like, why are you boring me with this mindset thing? And you go to, I think getmotivated.com, seminars. And the whole time they're just talking about mindset. I was like, get out of here with this mindset. Like, give me the meat, give me the meat and potatoes, give me the stuff that I need, right? What I took for granted, I didn't know, was that my mindset was okay in the right area, right? It wasn't where I need to be, but it's above average. And so I learned now that I'm on this side of the education space, that there are a lot of people with a lot of baggage, a lot of things holding them back, right? And part of it is education system. You go to school to get good grades so you can go to college, so that you can go get a good internship, so you can get good jobs, so you can have your house and blah, 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 right? There's part of that. There might be your surroundings, what you grew up with, your friends, your family, like who do you think you are to be able to go work on your own? Who do you think you are that you deserve this? Do you think you're better than me? You got that crab effect where people are trying to pull you back. And I had no idea how much of that baggage is in people's heads, so I am incredibly blessed, incredibly lucky. We grew up poor, right? I mean, I was born in a refugee camp. I came in as an immigrant. We grew up poor. I had no idea how poor we were, right? My dad would tell me how poor we were, but I had no idea, and my parents did enough to protect me and keep me safe where I don't have that much baggage. But there are a lot of other people that have a lot of baggage. And that is the thing that holds a lot of people back. There's a lot of, we call it head trash, unfortunately, that's holding them back from success that they can have because there's negative self-talk. Do I deserve this? Am I worthy of this? If I do this, what will people think of me? I've had multiple people come onto my podcast that says that you cannot talk about how much I make because when I go home, it's going to cause problems for me. Really? Right? And so there's a lot of adversity that you have to overcome, not just externally, but internally. So I would say the number one thing is mindset. And again, for me, I was always irritated when they were talking about mindset. But now that I'm on this side, I realize how important mindset is.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I would say that that's probably like one of the biggest things is, being younger and going from your high school friend group or your middle school friend group, high school friend group, college friend group. And then now where we're at now is like, you just see the shift. You're like, man, like I didn't realize like that where I was is like never going to get me to where I want to go. So,
right.
If you're young, your friend group is your parent. Like my parents always told me this too, is, who you're surrounding yourself is who you're going to be. And I was like, man, nah, it's all in my head. I'm going to be great, whatever. But then as I realized that as you get better and better, the people who you're with judge you more and more and more. So it's so true. And I would say that, getting a better friend group. And
they say the single strongest indicator of your success above all else, right? Forget ethnicity, forget age, forget anything. Like the single most important is your 5 friends. And it's crazy because we hear it over and over again. It's like, that's just guru talk. That's just whatever.
Yeah.
But no, that is actually the single biggest
it is.
Success is crazy.
100%.
Show me your friends. I'll show you your future.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So follow up on the mindset real quick, Steve, our leadership, excuse me. What does great leadership look like to you, Steve?
So it goes back to what I was saying earlier. So my favorite leadership book of all is John Maxwell's Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And that goes back to those 3 questions, right? Like, unfortunately, I am the leader, so I don't have anyone that I follow specifically. But I could tell you the leaders I've had in the past, those 3 questions, can they help me? The answers were usually yes. Do they care about me? Kind of, right? But it wasn't like 100%. And can I trust them to do what's best for me when I'm not around? And that was definitely a no. Yeah. And so like for me, it's like, okay, this isn't going to work. So if I had someone who had a vision big enough where I can fit it, right? And they can answer those 3 questions, right? Do they care about me? Can I trust them? And can they help me, right? If I had someone in those 3 categories that I could say yes to, for me personally, in my situation, in my life, I would follow that person, right? Like, for example, like if Elon Musk, right, says, "Hey, Steve, here's my plan. Here's where you fit in this vision, whatever," right? It's like, I'll say, okay, let's do this. And I've shared with you, right? I've had opportunities, right? I've had people recruit me. I was like, this doesn't quite fit, right? But looking at hindsight, they had great opportunities for me, but it wasn't the leadership
for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say like you're the leader, so you don't really have anyone you follow. So you, as a leader, you have to consistently get better and better. Otherwise, your people will eventually pass you. How do you manage that?
Well, I mean, it's so Andy Grove. He was one of the CEOs at Intel, and he wrote a book. I never read the book, but I always this title always stuck to me was "Only the Paranoid Survive." Right, and so if I'm not getting better every day, someone's coming for me. Right,
I like that.
Either one of my people, like one of the leaders underneath me that I'm training, could be replacing me. It could be someone else, another person that wants to see success I'm having. It's like, man, maybe I could just start a podcast. Maybe I could start sales training, whatever, right? So there's always someone out there who's trying to come for what I've got, just like I'm coming for Grant Cardone.
Exactly.
There's just, I always operate in this mindset. And so for that reason, I have to get better every single day. I am consuming all the sales books I can find because I want there to be no question, right? Who knows the most about sales?
Exactly.
I'm operating from that paranoia. Thank you. I'm operating from that paranoia.
No, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Just keep getting better. So Tim had something for you. You probably don't want to come on my podcast next. He used this little strategy. Tim's actually a friend of mine. He's building some big multifamily. He would be good for your mindset to have Steve on there. For
yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Probably not a fit.
I don't know. I might not work. I'm not sure I'm qualified.
Exactly. How many rentals do you have? Sean asked.
So we only have 2, right? So this is not the right way to do it now for my situation in life, but this is the way we decided to do it then, which was we want all our rental properties paid off. So we have 2 properties paid off, right? And for me, that's because I was operating from PTSD. I started this real estate journey in 2007. I watched so many people lose everything due to leverage.
Yep.
And then I also at that time as a realtor, I got to see how the wealthy buy real estate, and the wealthy buy real estate just cash.
BlackRock.
Right? Mm-hmm. Right. And what you see is, no one talks about this in a book, but what you see when they buy properties cash, they can literally buy a property every single month with their cash flow from their portfolio. Right. So no one talks about that, but I got to witness it. So for me, for the longest time, I was all about paying properties off. So I have massive cash flow, so I can do this and that. And then last year, I got stuck with a massive tax bill. And I said, holy crap, with this tax bill, I could have just bought a property free and clear. So now we're adjusting our strategies. So for me, my personal goal between now and end of the year is to buy 10 properties in Oklahoma City.
Awesome.
Why there?
Awesome. What keep
Burr, baby. Burr, baby, Burr.
Burr it up. Don't tell Pace that he's going to slap you.
I know. Pace and I have different levels of tolerance. And I have this crazy high tolerance. Pace is bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go with this. I know you got to leave, Steve, so we'll maybe go for another couple minutes, put a cutoff here. So how do you time block your days?
5 a.m. every morning. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I run at 5:40. So all I do that morning is review my affirmations and vision and stretch. And then I go run. Come home, get the kids ready for school. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I work out at 6:30, hired a personal trainer, right? So there I'm doing the affirmations and vision, but also doing thinking time and reviewing my day and stuff like that. So that's in the mornings. The rest of the days, man, if you see my calendar, it's kind of crazy, but everything is blocked off, right? Like,
and you snuck some time for you guys today.
Well, but you also ask me like 2 weeks ahead. Like,
yeah,
if people don't ask me 2 weeks ahead, it gets booked, right? So, and now that I got these media guys, now they're in-house. Literally, every 30-minute block, they have full permission. It's like, hey, Steve, come over here. We need to record this.
I like
because
that.
I need to create 2 or 3 pieces of content every single day. So now they have full permission. If they see me lounging, they can just grab me. Hey, Steve, we need to talk about this.
GoPro you.
Yeah,
right from the bathroom.
Go.
Oh, they got the massive cameras like right in your face, right?
Oh yes, I love that.
That's sick.
I love that.
That's sick.
So, all right, let's ask this other face. So this is the last question we'll go over. And so what is your preference? I think it's Burr, right?
Well, I do enjoy creative finance, but creative finance they're rarer, right? Like they're great, but they're rarer. And you could argue, I think Pace would argue that they're more prevalent than Burrs. But for me, I'm looking at Oklahoma City. I'm trying to buy properties for 80, 90K and then do the Burr thing at 130. Yeah. So for me, I can do that over and over again. Versus creative finance, I think creative finance, it's a little hard to find. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist, right? There's plenty. Yeah. But I think it's easier to consistently find Burrs than it is to consistently find creative finance. That's just me. I could be totally wrong. I am not an expert in either arena. I'm not an expert at Burr or creative finance. I just know for me, my goal is to do the wholesale, the brokerage, the title, the education, make a lot of money on this side, stay in my lane over here, and then buy a bunch of properties over there that I don't have to worry about. Right. So for me, Burr is a passive strategy. It is not an active strategy. Whereas I think creative finance, that is an active strategy. Like, I think I would compare creative finance to wholesale more than I would compare creative finance to Burr.
Yeah, for sure. And I lied. One more question quick, because you just did it. I like Enrique. So what do you look at when entering a market, and do you have it lined up before launching? So this is good. You just launched a market, right?
Yeah, we just launched Oklahoma City. And so what was I looking for? I was looking to see if I have any friends over there. So first and foremost, so I got Alex Moses, Brian Higgins, Corey Buttwright in Oklahoma City. The first thing, right? Do I have friends there? Right? And guys that are crushing it, not like small guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And the second, can I start TV there? That was the second question. Right? So I called Jeremy. Hey, who you got in Oklahoma City? He's like, nobody. I was like, perfect. I got those two questions answered. I am ready to go. That's all I need. Now, again, I am a fast mover. I am not, let's review everything that can go wrong, right? Because we did that with Albuquerque, right? We started Albuquerque. That was a disaster. Fortunately, we're profitable, but for a moment, that was a $30,000, $40,000 mistake because we just launched without doing any kind of due diligence. We didn't even have boots in the ground. We started in Albuquerque.
I like that. So that's some good hits right there. So I know Steve's got to go. He's got piano lessons he's teaching today. So, I mean, if you guys already know Steve, follow him, hit him up on Instagram, do his stuff, do him some courtesy. But we're also going to run a little workshop similar to Steve's coming up here, probably at the end of June or beginning of July. So you keep your guys' eyes out for that. And once again, first water sip for Steve of the day right at the end.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah. He's got to hydrate up out there in Arizona.
Thanks for coming on, Steve. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And make sure, guys, join Disruptors, join his mastermind, join his courses, because remember, you're investing in yourself. Do you want to be able to use these sales skills the rest of your life? Why not? Why wouldn't you, right? So, or unless you're not a good fit. But
you forever have what's up here.
But all right, guys, we'll talk to you. Thanks for joining us, and thanks again, Stevie.